In simple words, it is basically sourcing management, contract management, supplier management. So what we are going to define here is at this stage, for example, if I'm taking the supplier. So how your supplier is onboarded, how your supplier's performance is evaluated, how your supplier is maintained, all these things will be taken care in upstream solution. That is called an upstream solution. Once your supplier is extrapolated, then you will be having a sourcing. So sourcing means you want to find out source of supply. So here your role will be, for particular commodity or a service, who is the best preferred supplier? So that is the responsibility of again in procurement activity. You can divide it into two, the senior management or normal management. So what is the senior management responsible, or senior procurement managers responsible will be, is to develop more and more relationship with the supplier, having a contractual prices so that you don't need to repeat it. For example, your client company is having, they want to purchase particular stationery. Each time a sourcing request or the material request comes to sourcing department, they will find out from the different sources of supply and evaluate them and give you the prices, and then you will be releasing APOV. That is one process. Again next month. Also they need stationery items. So, instead of keep on continuing every time the same process, what you are going to find it for stationery kind of a commodity, who is the best supplier? So you will establish, you will find out the source of supply for this stationery item for an over a period of 12 months. Then you will have a contract with them for the next 12 months sourcing. Anyone is requesting a stationery item they can directly get from this particular supplier. Because we have evaluated this supplier will be a good supplier for our upcoming request. So that is what you are going to establish under the planning stage of a sourcing. Then again, as soon as your sourcing evaluation is completed, you will be having a legal agreement or you will be having this transaction to grow into. The buyer side will be using contract management module to establish the legal application, with the buyer as well as seller having a contract, so that again is that contract you can utilize buying of your stationery items. These are all processes taken care in planning stage. That's called upstream solution. Coming to the buy side, here you are going to use basically something like an end user as well. So what here will happen is now we already know who is the supplier and for what commodity he is based, whether we are having a contractual limits also. Contractual limits also help you in restricting the buying. So suppose stationery is spent for a particular company, you cannot reach more than 500,000. So you can have a contract limit on that, so they will not able to more than purchase that 500,000 across the company. That is possible doing contract management. Now, these are all already established. Now what end user will do? He will log in into the Ariba, he will select stationery item, then he clicks on buy now, something like that, add to cart or proceed to the next one. What will happen? System will create a purchase requisition and send for an approval process. Again, approval process will be configuring ourselves. So what will approval process can be? For example, if the purchase requisition is less than 500, I do not need any approval immediately. The purchase requisition will be approved, PO will be created and PO will be sent to the supplier. You can have an approval process. Any purchase requisition one supervisor has to approve. Then you can configure in that way. As soon as the user is submitted, it will go to the supervisor and supervisor will approve it. Then you can also have different approval processes, like, for example, if asset is purchased, then it has to go to asset manager for his evaluation, because he has to give you the asset ID and what is the depreciation he need to maintain. Approval flows can be configured. So that is at the buy stage. So here, basically, you are utilizing whatever agreement upstream and you will also have once you place the order now. The next step will be receiving and invoicing. So that are all process of buying, plan, buy and monitor. Here you are going to do admin activities. So which is the user capital, I mean which user having? What is the approval limit, whether performance of a supplier need to be increased? All these things will be seen under monitoring activity. This is for continuous evaluation. So here what we'll be doing. There are two things of now. Whatever we discussed is already. There is a catalog, item is available. We are purchasing through that means there is existing relationship with particular product and supplier is available. So still, you are continuously. Now I have given an example for stationery. Now there is some requirement has come for machinery tools which is not existing in your existing relationship with the supplier. In this stage, what will happen again? You will reach to the procurement department. They will analyze the supplier, source of supply. They will do the activity. So at monitoring stage what they do is they will find out how many number of such items are created. That's called non-catalog item. Okay, so under non-catalog items, whatever you are purchasing non-catalog items, those items will be reviewed and they will start establishing a relationship with the suppliers. These are all activities. Accordingly, now the modules can be divided as those things. Contract module supplier. This is also called SLP, SAPM, SPM, anything. You are calling the same thing only. Under contract, you will be also called CLM. Contract life cycle management, contract terms, contract complaints. Complaints is nothing but establishing. From upstream to downstream. We will call contract complaints, contract terms, also same thing only. Under sourcing, you will be hearing something like events auctions, RFP request for proposal. RFI Dutch auction, English auction, Japanese auction, something like that. All you are going to get these are all part of this particular module. Then we'll be having buying. So in buying again you will be limited to procure to order. P2O scenario, P2P, procure to pay. But this will not come as part of buying, so it will stop with procure to order. When we are talking about invoicing, this time we'll be called the full solution as procure to pay. Again, sometime you will also hear source to S2O, source to order, source to contract. I'll put it that as a different scenarios. Apart from that, you will also hear catalogs. This is part of buying. And you will also hear guided buying. So these catalogs are part of guided buying. Don't get confused. So guided buying is again like what you have seen here. 3. Environment. This is also one more layer on top of your standard buying process. This will ease the end user's accessibility. So instead of showing go create and all those things, it will show in a navigation form. So that is guided buying. The username passwords all remain same. There is no master data, additional master data required for guided buying. That we'll be talking as part of the training also. These are all modules. So sourcing module, contract module, supplier, buying and invoicing. These are the 5 modules which are important as a functional consultant. There is also, you might also hear additional things like risk management supplier, risk supplier, spend management. These are all additional on top of this. Advoa provides exclusively for the particular purpose. For example, when we are talking about supplier risk. So the risk evaluated. There will be some companies. They are evaluating the supplier risk continuously. They'll be monitoring the share values, their marketing spends, and how their payments are done. All these things are monitored by these specialized companies. When you are having integration with particular suppliers, evaluation companies, your risk also monitored in Ariba application. So that is part of the supplier risk. These 5 are the major modules. Ariba provides these modules collectively or you can take independently also. That means